How's it going, everybody? This is RBT coming at you with my 2012 Pac-12 Conference preview and prediction. First of all, remember this is just an opinion, so don't hate, because I've been getting a lot of hate on my other videos, but come on, man, I'm just a high school student here. I did some homework on this video. The other ones were just off the top of my head, but seems like if I don't have their favorite team towards the top, I get a lot of hate, and they call me a moron and some nasty things, so let's just go ahead and get started. Remember, just respect my opinion, leave me some feedback, and I'll respect your opinion. Starting with the Pac-12 North, from top to bottom, I got Oregon, Washington, Cal, Stanford, Oregon State, and Washington State. Oregon's first, even though they lost Darren Thomas and LaMichael James, the big part of their offense. But I can't remember the second string quarterback's name, but he played in a few games last year, and he shined pretty well. He had some pretty good games. He's really, really talented. And I've heard some rumors that the real reason Darren Thomas left early for the NFL was because he was going to have some trouble competing for the starting job during the spring against that new quarterback. So he must have some raw talent. But they do have DeAnthony Thomas back, who, if you watched my Heisman prediction video, I have him as a dark horse for the Heisman because he's really, really talented. Oh my God, dude, that Rose Bowl run was the fastest I've ever seen anybody in pads. He's ridiculous. They bring back some core members of their offensive line and defense, and I think they barely edge out Washington for the Pac-12 title, Pac-12 North title rather. Washington, they bring back Keith Price. Chris Polk left early for the NFL draft. They bring back a few wide receivers. Lose a little bit on defense, a little bit on the O-line, and a few wide receivers, but I think they'll be okay. Keith Price also is a dark horse for the Heisman this year. He's really talented. If you watch the Alamo Bowl from last year, he battled Robert Griffin for the whole entire game. But the dude's really, really talented. He'll only be a junior this year, so be on the lookout for Washington and have them at number 2. Cal, they bring back their quarterback, Zach Maynard, their running back, and their best wide receiver, Keenan Allen. So they bring back the main pieces of their skill position on offense, but they lost the 2 other wide receivers that started last year other than Keenan Allen. Lost a little bit on the offensive line, a few defensive players, but I think they're going to finish above Stanford and Oregon State and Washington because, well, mainly Stanford, because Stanford lost a ton, and when I mean a ton. The only reason I can see Stanford competing is if their defense can just lead and just play soundly all year. And I mean, they have the potential to do that, but they lost Andrew Luck, number 1 pick in the draft, lost their running back, lost a few wide receivers, lost their tight end, Kobe Fleener, who's also probably going to be a first-round pick, lost their 2 interior linemen. I think the center comes back, though. Lost a few guys on defense. So I think they lost way too much, and I really don't see them contending next year. I mean, maybe if you give... It really depends on the quarterback play, really, because if you can get a quarterback that's somewhat on the par of Andrew Luck, in the future, they're going to be just back how they used to be, or in the past few years. Oregon State, the bottom dwellers of the division last year, along with Washington State. Washington State, yeah, they brought in Mike Leach, and it'll be fun to watch him in the system. Pac-12 is going to be probably the most fun conference to watch the next year, and I'm going to have to stay up late to watch a bunch of games this year from the Pac-12. But I was thinking about flip-flopping Oregon State and Washington State, but Washington State has been the bottom dweller of the division the past few years. And the more I look at their team, they lost just about every player other than their quarterback, Jeff Toole, and their really, really talented wide receiver, Marquise Wilson. Be on the lookout for that guy, because that guy is a straight-up beast. He'll excel in Mike Leach's offense, and he's going to be a fun player to watch, but they lost way too much, and just trying to transition into a whole brand new system in 1 year with a bunch of new players. I just don't see it happening. I mean, maybe give it 2-3 years, you can see Washington State surprise some teams. So let's move on to the Pac-12 South. From top to bottom, USC, Utah, Arizona State, Arizona, UCLA, and Colorado. USC's first, obviously, because they bring back Matt Barkley. Robert Woods, wide receiver. Their running back, the Dion Bailey, I believe his name is, the first team freshman last year linebacker. A few guys on the D line. Bring back the core of their offensive line, even though they lost Matt Khalil to the NFL. I'm sure they reload every year. They pick and choose who they want. So each year they reload. They lose a player to the NFL, no big deal. They get a guy to replace him that's just as good. So I don't really see the line being any problem whatsoever. Their defense is going to be stout. Their offense is just going to be amazing. I really do think USC is going to have a really good chance to win the Pac-12 next year and compete for the national title. 2, we got Utah. They barely didn't win the division last year because USC obviously weren't eligible to win the division. But they just got edged out by UCLA. And the main part of that is because their talented quarterback, Jordan Wynn, was out. He had shoulder surgery after an October 1st game. Can't remember who they played, but he was really, really, really talented. And I've heard that he bulked up over the offseason. I think he gained 10 pounds trying to increase his durability. And he's a heck of a player. They bring back their running back, who was the second team All Pac-12 last year. They bring back also some defensive players. Their offensive line might be a little question, but they bring back a bunch of defensive players who were really, really talented next year. So I see if there's any possible team to knock off USC in the division this year, like I said, who has any chance, it would be Utah. And after USC and Utah, there's honestly a big gap between Arizona State, Arizona, UCLA, and Colorado. Arizona State, they lost their quarterback, Brock Osweiler, to the NFL draft. Don't necessarily know why he left early because, he has the tools. He can throw. He has good arm. He's like 25 foot tall. I think the main part of his departure is because of the new head coach, Todd Graham. I don't think he really fits the system because he's not really mobile at all. But looking at the NFL, the evaluation of him has not been too well, so he might be regretting his decision right now. But they also lost 3 wide receivers. All 3 of their, I think every 3 starting wide receiver last year because they're all seniors. And then they lost 5 on the defense, so they're going to have to reload. But I was kind of flip-flopping Arizona State and Arizona. But Arizona loses a heck of a lot more than Arizona State does. Plus, they bring in Rich Rodriguez, who's going to bring a whole entire new offense to this team. And when you're doing that with new players, it doesn't really tend to work out in their favor. Rich Rodriguez, I think he can have success in the Pac-12, but I think it's going to take a while. I don't think he's going to have success year 1. Maybe get 1 recruiting class in, maybe 2 years, 3 years tops, and he'll have his team rolling. But right now, this next year, he lost the quarterback, Nick Foles, to the NFL draft. They lost their running back. They lost all 4 wide receivers. They lost 6 on defense. They lost they bring back the whole entire offensive line, rather. So that's one key part for the team, is offensive line. They're really, really young, and able for his offense to be successful, he's got to have a strong offensive line. So that's one key part of the team next year. But he's going to have to have his quarterback's going to have to excel in his offense, has to learn quick. A running back's got to step up. He's got to have a few wide receivers step up. He doesn't necessarily recruit wide receivers well. And one thing I saw in the offseason was, I can't remember the recruit's name, but he could have gone to he's a really dual threat quarterback. He could have either gone to UCLA and played in a pro style offense in Jim Mora, or he could have gone to Arizona and fit perfectly in Rich Rodriguez's offense. And he chose UCLA. And that makes no sense. He's not going to play 1 down at quarterback at UCLA, so I don't really understand that. But Arizona, yeah, I had them number 4. UCLA, honestly, I had them when I was first thinking about it, I had them at number 6 behind Colorado. But they lost a lot. They lost their kicker, their punter, their kick returner, their punt returner. Lost 8 on defense. They lost their starting quarterback, they lost 3 offensive linemen, and their starting running back. So it's a heck of a lot to replace. But Jim Moore was a good hire, in my opinion. He's an NFL guy. He can run a pro-style offense. So even though they run a pro-style fast few years, they needed a change at the leadership position at head coach. But I mean, I think eventually he's going to be successful, just as the other teams are. I think this division is going to be a really fun one to watch over the next few years, because Arizona is going to continue to prove, USC and Utah is going to continue to be the good teams that they are. And I think UCLA, Arizona, and Arizona State with the new coaches are going to be on the rise. But like I said, UCLA have a lot to replace, and I don't see them being able to replace them successfully next year, have them at number 5 in the division. And number 6, Colorado, they really don't bring back much at all. Lost a lot on defense. The only player they bring back that was on first or second string, first or second string all Pac-12 was their offensive guard, David Bakami. So they lost their quarterback, Tyler Hanson. They lost a few pieces of their offense, a lot of their defense. So I pull for Colorado, but I don't really see them having any chance. They're the bottom dwellers last year, and when you lose a lot of talent off that bad team, I really don't see you having any chance to compete. So maybe give them a few years. If they ever can get a change at the leadership position at head coach, maybe they can contend, but it is what it is. That is it, guys. That was my Pac-12 prediction video. Don't hate. I've been getting a lot of hate lately, so just let me know what you think about it, if you agree, disagree. And that is it, guys. Have a great day. Roll Tide, go Sox, and go Titans to you. Later.